First, I would like you to give us a quick introduction to who you are and what you care about.
Hi, Marco. It's great to be back. We've known each other for a while now, although we never have really met in person, but we've done a lot of great work that I value a lot. My name is Zeina Abdo. I live in Switzerland. I'm of Lebanese origin, grew up in the Middle East, and after having built a pretty long career in the corporate world and in parallel led an NGO in Nepal. We are now today meeting to speak about an initiative that you also saw the birth of, which is called Infused with Vitamin L.
Something really exciting, something that the world really needs now. So would you explain what is infused with vitamin L?
Start with just some questions. So I would like to say, just remember that person, that leader that made a difference for you, that made you feel seen, that made you feel heard, or where you felt care was real. And this is today, this was the inspiration point for Vitamin L, which is now it's being created as we speak. It's a co-creation. It's a movement that invites the real question, the authentic and vulnerable question, is care real here? Whether in an organization, in a restaurant, in a place, or in a human connection.
Would you elaborate a little bit on why you think this is needed now for the world?
I think most of us are really tired. There's a general exhaustion in many ways. Like I was saying, mentioning, think about the person or the leader in a company that made you feel heard. Think about a place where you entered and you felt seen as a human being. There's so much claimed values. We do workshops where we put down the values of a company, we place them on the wall. But then when, excuse my French, shit hits the wall or there's tension or nobody's watching, are those values being really transmitted in a day-to-day caring relationship? There's also an exhaustion due to the fact that relationships have become transactional. We are more and more connected. There's a sense of immediacy in everything, but the loneliness has grown so much. It's difficult to show up as we are. We have to perform. We have to the relationship has become transactional. So there's this exhaustion, burnout. Burnout has become a baseline in businesses. And although all the companies say people first, we care. So now I'm speaking to those people who sometimes sit in a meeting listening to all of those great values that are being declared, but who know that there's a discrepancy. And it's the same thing when you walk into a public place or when you deal with someone. So it's really about how do we allow a vulnerable strength to really be who we are, to really act from a place of authentic care.
Yes.
I truly care about you and I see you and it's okay. I don't need to perform or put out a mask. And as you know, Marco, I am very inspired by my children who are now young adults, 18 and 20. I'm very inspired by them, by their friends, and by the values that they carry forward and this connection. And what can we co-create together? So this is where Vitamin L started bubbling up a year and a half ago. And as I started sharing it with the world and with people around me, I did feel that it resonated more and more with the community, with the people I've been speaking about.
Before I ask you more about what that initiative is about and how the components of it, I really need to ask you what's up with the name. How can you explain the name?
Sure. So, we have vitamin C for immunity. We have vitamin D for energy, vitamin B12, magnesium.
Yeah.
But I think we are all extremely deficient with vitamin L. And what is vitamin L is really vitamin love, is the pervasive energy. Is we live through love, we long for love. And I think that each and every one of us lives through this, and everything that you infuse with vitamin love is something that gives you purpose, that gives you meaning, that gives you connection, that gives you the right to be truly who you are and connect on a heart to heart and a human wavelength.
Yeah. And I know that you actually been using this term for quite a while. I would love if you could just share how you started using that vitamin L.
Yeah, so historically, it started 6-7 years ago. Out of a product, I had created a product, the granola. And when I was asked what ingredients this granola had, obviously I would state the edible ingredients, and I would tell them that the glue that makes the whole difference was the vitamin L.
Yeah.
And obviously people were like, "Oh, vitamin L, never heard of it. What is it exactly?" And I would say, "Well, you find it everywhere and you have it in you." "Oh, really? No, I know of vitamin C, vitamin B, but what is vitamin L?" So when I would say vitamin love, you would immediately feel the person, smile and soften. And this became a joke in my community, my surrounding. And this built slowly to people started telling me, "Oh, I've tried this place. It's so vitamin L. I've gone to this restaurant. Oh, this company, the way they treat their employees, they're vitamin love." And so this is why I'm saying it's a movement that's been co-created as we speak, and that has been inspired by the people around me. This is where vitamin L really started becoming an institutionalized name. I have to say that you are the one who created the logo.
Yes. And it was very fun and it was very meaningful. I love to work on things that actually can make a difference. So that was a perfect project to work on. And I love to hear the story about how it evolved. And it really, as you say, it was a co-creation of many people along many years. And I very much agree with your point about there's all these big companies that have all these beautiful walls in their offices saying all these human values, but then when you look at some of these companies, you can see that it's a lot of words, and you sometimes wonder what's really behind this, and is care real? So how can you explain the components that Infused with vitamin L is about, and how this actually will work as a community, as a movement?
In terms of components, there are 4 non-negotiable values or pillars that represent what vitamin L stands for. And I think the starting point that we can always bring into the picture is this question: is care real here? How does it translate into human-centeredness? Human at the core of everything. And you know me, I've worked a lot on the field in Nepal, on NGOs, in sustainability, in the corporate world. If the human is not at the center, everything that we claim remains a good sentence, nice, but it's not sustainable. So how do I care about the human who is myself or the human who is in front of me? Human-centeredness. Then you have authenticity, speaks for itself, care, and contribution. So these are the 4 non-negotiable pillars and values that vitamin L stands on. And it's not about verifying processes or, it's really about saying, how do I show up when things get difficult? How do I show up? If we speak about organizations, I mean, being a leader inside an organization where performance is at the core, it's very difficult. It's sometimes a lonely place. I've been there. And am I allowed as a leader to show authentic care when I'm asking for performance? So it's bridging those gaps of the disconnect that somehow society has led us to have between a personal life and a professional life. A caring person and a performant leaders. But all of these can interact, Same way with, how youth are important for me. Bridging the gap between this youth, the generation that is entering the corporate world, and they're looking for the same thing. They also want to be successful. They also want to contribute. But they've watched us. They've watched us burn out. They've watched us give up humanity, give up values for constant performance. And they probably see that it didn't pay off because we are an exhausted generation. So Vitamin L is offering this space for community, for leaders, for people to come together, to network, to build this community, and to co-create this movement, this approach of saying, okay, I've heard you. We can do business together. We can talk together. We can have events, cross-pollinate. It's also really about, it's not only about human, it's about business, but business built on those 4 non-negotiable values and pillars.
Yeah. And then if I'm a small company, a business owner, an organization, how do I get about to connect with Infused with Vitamin L?
So basically, whether you're a business, a solopreneur, or just an individual wanting to connect and be part of the community and all the events that we're curating, it's really a curated community.
Okay.
You go on the website vitaminl.net, and then you you kind of apply with, and you answer some of the questions that we have already there, is like, why are you interested to join and what does it mean? What do our values really mean for you? Because the important is really authenticity and care and human-centeredness, and offering the space for people to really self-assess the intention behind connecting with a community that is, I could have said maybe a while ago, I could have said a silent majority, but I don't think we're a silent majority anymore. We are a majority that wants to speak, that wants to connect with one another, and that knows that some of the old systems are just not relevant anymore.
You mentioned your sons and that you have been working with the youth a lot. You've been a mentor. How has the young generation inspired you to do this? And how do you, if you could elaborate a little bit more on the different way that they are operating and seeing things compared to our generation?
So, you mentioned mentoring. Yes, indeed, I did mentor a lot of youth. And now I realize that actually it wasn't mentoring, because mentoring is almost, a top-down approach, like I'm teaching you. But really what happens with the youth, with today's youth, is witnessing one another. They need our pains. We've gone through a lot of pains to get where we are today, and sometimes it's difficult for us also, everything that we have given up, and the very high pressure hamster on the wheel kind of life. And they are showing us a new way of questioning. And I think what is really key also with the youth is that they still have this drive and this inspiration to say, I don't agree. It's not okay. We probably have dimmed this down because of responsibilities, because of so many years to comply with what's been asked. But they still have this energy of questioning and of saying, well, I probably don't agree with the way things are, so let's change. And this is really the co-creation movement. So I work a lot with them in building programs for them in intergenerational gap, how to address it, how to build those bridges between where they are coming from and where they're heading in the corporate world.
Okay. And you mentioned the community, so there will be an online community as well, but I've also heard you speak about potential in-person events.
Absolutely. So within this movement, so there's the part of the movement of us connecting together. What does it give you? What space are you entering? You're entering, like we were saying, a space based on the 4 non-negotiable values, a space of authenticity, where love is a courageous act. We're not treating love as a romantic or as a sentiment, but really as a driving and a standing force of courage, of authenticity. So what will it be through that? It would be conversations. It will be cross-pollination between businesses. We will have online regular events monthly, a yearly, once a year or twice a year in meeting person, chapters around the world. So obviously, as you know, I'm based in Switzerland, but the idea is to have also people around the world who will create their own local chapters. And all of this is really about curated community to make sure that this space is really filled through people who share the same non-negotiable values. And I keep on coming back to this because this is really important for us.
Yeah. What is a way that you can determine if care is real?
It's how people feel, okay? It's beyond a transactional, beyond a transactional situation, okay? You and I have worked together. There's a transaction. I asked for a logo, you delivered the logo. This is the transaction.
Yeah.
But beyond this, what was I felt? Was I heard? Was I understood? How did this transaction feel beyond just the material or the deliverable steps?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's easy when it's one-to-one because I can assess. But then the objective is also, if we're speaking about organization, is for the person to be able to speak up and to say, care is real here, even when things get really hard.
Yeah.
I can still feel heard. I can still feel the human connection.
Yeah. I think it's very powerful, and I think there's a lot of need for this kind of initiative because, yeah, as you said, people are burned out and running around very stressed.
Yeah, and you can refer. I mean, it's also all about the referral and saying, hey, and that's what I was saying. This is how Infused with Vitamin L was created. I mean, people started referring to me, other people saying, hey, I've met this leader. He's very Vitamin L. I've come across this company, the way they operate, the way they treat their employees or their interactions is very Vitamin L.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of, how is it verified?
Yeah. So is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you would like to talk about?
No, I would really like to focus again, on the fact that love doesn't come across as soft. I know that sometimes, it's we shy away from this word because it can have different connotation. It can apply probably emotions or sentiments that we don't want to share. But I really think it's a very courageous currency there is. And through this outcomes that we are all focused on, because obviously, we live in a world where we need to deliver, where there is outcomes, where we need some transaction. But if they are made through a lens of care and contribution, then the outcomes will be much higher. And there are studies, if you look at the McKinsey studies or at Gallup and all of these who are assessing what's going on in the corporate world, the more human-centered and the more values-driven is an organization, the more performant it is.
Okay. Yeah. And I think it's also needed because it's not often that you hear business and love in the same sentence. And that is, those two things can certainly work well together. It needs to be together, but it's not often you hear that in terms of business.
No, and we own it. We own it. Obviously, at some point, I questioned this connection between love and business, but I want to own this word within the environment of business and performance, because I truly believe, and I can see through all the conversations that I've had, that one of the main reasons of the exhaustion and the burnout, like we were saying at the beginning, is really trying to keep things completely separate on two different levels.
Yeah.
And more, the human being that you are on an everyday life and on the weekend would love to show up also in a very authentic way at work.
Yeah, and I think that's also what we see with private and work life blending in together. Our time, like everything is intertwined, so it's not as separate as it was in the 50s, for example.
No, and when when the youth speak about, I want a job with purpose, I want a job that has meaning, it basically boils down to this.
Yeah. So if I want to join, or if I know somebody that I would like to maybe consider joining, can you tell me the precise steps to do? How do I get started today?
Go on vitaminl.net. There's a call to action button that says join the founding circle or join the community. You click on this button, you'll have a quick questionnaire that you have to fill, where we receive it and understand, what's the drive and the motivation behind this. Then we get on a call and we have a human conversation, not a chat bot, not digits to press.
Yeah.
And once we have had this conversation and felt that there is a good match, then you can join the community. You can apply to become a member.
Yeah, I think it sounds amazing, and I think the timing is exactly right. I think you've been working on this for a while, but I think to release it now is exactly what the world needs. Yeah, any last words, Zeina?
Thank you to everyone. Join. This is really an invitation to co-create. It's happening in public. It's happening as we speak. It's happening together. It's a movement, so there's no CEO, there's no one voice over the other. It's really about how can we together create a space for all of these values and for all of this vision that we have for, I wouldn't say a new world, but the world that is waiting to be expressed so that we can create it together.
It sounds very inspiring, and I encourage everyone to go to vitaminl.net. Thank you for coming on, Zeina.
Thank you to you, Marco.
You're welcome.
Too soon. Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.